So, I'm back again for the second time in one night. On a roll, right? I agree. So, this one here is about someone that's very special to me. So, my mother's birthday was October 20th. And I did tell her happy birthday and everything. And, we talk to each other all the time. So I'm like the biggest 37-year-old mama's boy ever, and I'm completely cool with that. So, besides me saying happy birthday, happy belated birthday, Ma. I know I've said it 5 or 10 times already, but I want to let the world know why my mother is so special to me. My mother is a single parent of 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. Unfortunately for her, after my oldest sister was born, she wanted one more girl and then she was done. So she had 2 boys. Good for her, right? She had 2 boys and then she had another girl. So my mom has been an inspiration for me for so many reasons. For one, she's this 5'1", 5'2", 110, 115-pound woman. Petite, right? Really small. But this lady packs a punch, physically and verbally. So, as kids, we didn't understand the struggles that parents go through with their kids. We didn't understand the sacrifices that parents make to protect their kids, to make sure that they have everything that they need and what they want. So, my family alone was primarily the women raising the kids. Now, I do have a dad. I know who he is, I know where he is, and I've always known that. But I was primarily raised by my mom. I wasn't always a good kid. I wasn't always the person that I am now. And I'm going to give you guys a little insight into how my mother is. So my mother is a no-nonsense type of person. She's not afraid to speak her mind. And she will battle whoever and whatever for her kids. And she always have. Not even just for her kids, but the people that she loves. She is an awesome person. My mom is this amazing human being. And I know there are plenty of mothers out there like this. But this one is mine. I would say you can't have her, but she tends to get a lot of kids. Everybody calls her mom. So when I was younger, my mother did everything that she could to raise us right. She tried to keep us out of the streets and keep us focused on being good people, But as kids, sometimes we venture off into our own things. And, my mom, she never let anything that we've done stop her from loving us the way that she should. So, with me and my mother's relationship, When I was young, I was a knucklehead. I was into things that she definitely did not want me to be a part of. So, she definitely made sacrifices that I don't think any woman should have to make. When I was 9 years old, my oldest sister lived with my grandmother, and my mother, my younger brother, and my younger sister and I, we lived on the west side of Chicago. Sometimes my mother had 2 or 3 jobs, to help support us. She was really good at hiding when things were going wrong, and that's rightfully so, because as kids that young, we wouldn't understand, and during that time of her working so many jobs and my sister living with my grandmother, I won't say I was forced, but I was put into a position to grow up a little quicker than I expected. So a lot of times I had to get us up for school and get us like eat breakfast, maybe cereal, fix sandwiches, or whatever. A lot of times my mother was there to do that. But it was sometimes where, I carried that load to get us up for school, get us ready, and get us out the door. A lot of times my mom would walk us to school, and there were times where she couldn't. Then after school, most likely my mother was at work, and it was up to me to get us home, make sure we did our homework, keep the house clean, eat what she prepared for dinner for us, or we eat noodles, or we make sandwiches. But all in all, these things came because my mother was single. And instead of crying about it and, pointing fingers and blaming people, she handled her business. She went up, she got to work, and she had some long days and long nights. I never understood that as a kid. And, as I got older, I started to blame her for it, because I was put in this position to look after my younger brother and sister. Sometimes my oldest sister was there. But a lot of times it was just me, my younger brother, and my younger sister. Now, one thing that we were taught was to not open the door for anybody. So if anybody rang our bell, there was no chance of them getting in. I remember a time when my Uncle Walter, he rang the bell, and we knew it was him, but our instructions were to not let anyone in the house. And we did not let him in. He could not come in the house because my mother was not there. Now, I know people may say this is irresponsible, or she neglected us by doing this. But damn it, she did what she was supposed to do. She taught us well. And she did what she needed to do to take care of her kids, We turned out pretty good for the most part. For the most part, we turned out pretty good. As I became a teenager, I was looking for that guidance, or that teaching into a way of life from a man, meaning my dad. And a lot of times he wasn't there. he was also a different type of parent than my mother was as well. So my dad was a hard ass, and that he was just different than my mom. But I remember when I would get ready and go outside as a teenager, and my mom would say, "All right, Dante, don't go outside being stupid now." Yep. And I went outside being stupid. So I went outside and did a lot of things that she told me not to. But in my defense, I was a teenager. I was looking for something that mom couldn't necessarily teach me or show me, as far as things from a man's perspective. So some things I went out and I found it in the streets, and it wasn't always a bad thing, but it wasn't always a good thing either. And it was probably more bad than good. But I didn't get into that part of life extremely tough. I explored it. I got into it, and I didn't make that my way of life, and my mom, she stayed on me. So if I was outside and she had like this small little idea that I was outside doing something I was not supposed to be doing, she would come looking for me. I remember she used to drive around the neighborhood to my friends' houses asking if I was there. And it was one particular friend's house. I was in the backyard, and they warned me before they saw her coming up, and was like, "Dante, comes your mom, comes your mom, comes your mom." So they lied and told her that I wasn't there, and she knew I was there. I heard her say, "Well, if you see Dante, tell him he needs to make it home before I get there." So mind you, my mother's in a car, and where I was one street away from where we live. So as soon as I heard her say that, I started jumping over fence and running and trying to be her home. I never thought that when I passed the street, it was a one-way street which her car had to come up, that she would see me cross the street. So I get in the house, and I'm sitting there nice and comfortable, and boy, did I get it. Oh man, this lady just laid into me, and she didn't whoop me or anything, but that was the worst verbal beatdown I've ever had in my life. She was a no-nonsense lady. And then, she moved us away from the south side of Chicago, thinking that it would get rid of some of the problems that were going on with us in the neighborhood. And it did for a little while, but as she say, she didn't realize she was taking a problem. She was taking a problem with her. So we moved to the west side, and we're okay because no one knew us. We didn't know anyone. But just as sure as we started to meet people, everything started to happen. We started getting into fights and all this little fun kid stuff that we thought was normal as kids. So in the process, I hit a depression, and I'm sure my mother knows about it now. But we started to argue like a lot, and she don't know, but a lot of that came from me blaming her for the things that I've had to do at a younger age with uh, basically taking care of my younger brother, my younger sister while she was at work. But that was only because I didn't realize the sacrifices that she made. I blamed her that our dads wasn't there like they should have been. They had the means to, and they very well could have, but they didn't show up the way that they were supposed to. And as a knucklehead kid, I blamed her for it, and it was definitely not her fault. So, to you, mama, I apologize about that because you definitely did not deserve that. You did your best for all of us. And I started to see that more and more as I got older. When I turned 16, my mother gave me a birthday present. And it was like an unconventional birthday present, so to speak. So my birthday present at 16 at 16 was a job. She took me to work at 16 years old. The night of my 16th birthday is when I started my first job. And I could only work weekends and summers. So as a 16-year-old boy, I didn't want to go to work every weekend or all through the summer. I wanted to hang out with friends and do things, but she wanted something else for me. She wanted more productivity from me. And I've been working ever since. Ever since I was 16, I've been working. And I appreciate her so much for this. I really do. I wasn't allowed to be what the community wanted to make of me. I wasn't allowed to be what the world told me I was supposed to be. I wasn't allowed to be that. I wasn't allowed to be a bad father. I wasn't allowed to be a kid that wouldn't work. I wasn't allowed to be a kid that didn't have an education. I wasn't allowed to be a kid who only knew Ebonics. She made sure that we had what we needed to survive in this world. My mother's awesome. Oh, and the fact that I'm a 37-year-old man and she still punched me if she hear me curse, I think I could still file some child abuse charges. Yeah. So we'll see next time she hit me. But I think also I'm afraid to call the police on her because I tried it once and I threatened to call the police on her before, and she gave me the phone, which is not normal. I don't understand what parent will give the kid a phone if they're threatening to call the police. She even called the police for me once. And, they came to the house and congratulated her. It didn't work in my favor, like completely didn't work in my favor. So, I also had this very, 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 very bad temper to the point where I would black out sometimes. And that hasn't happened a lot, but, my temper was so bad that sometimes I would black out. And she used to tell me that one day my temper would get me either killed or locked up, put me in jail. And it was one thing specifically that points me to this. So I got into an argument with some guys that sold drugs on the street that we live for calling my sister out of her name. So we get into this argument, and just as the argument is about to calm down, another guy comes up and sparks the argument up again. So we starting to argue, or we're arguing, and in front of my family, my friends, my nieces and nephews and their friends, this guy pulls a gun to my head, like point blank range. And he tells me that he's not going to fight me, that he will shoot me. And at this point, I lost my temper again to almost blackout mode. I was still aware of what was going on, but instead of walking away, I was telling this guy to shoot me. I challenged him in front of everybody that I knew to shoot me, which was very, very, very stupid. Because had he pulled that trigger, I wouldn't be here today. And I didn't think of all the pain that that my family would be going through as a result of that, and people were pulling me away and trying to get me away from this situation, and I fought with them so I can get back close to the guy to threaten him or to tell him to shoot me. And he didn't shoot me. Thank God he didn't shoot me. But I remember after I woke up from that, I remember being in a room and I was just crying. And I was crying not because I was upset. I was crying because of the stupid choice that I made to tell this guy to shoot me. I was crying because I didn't take into account my actions that could have led to my death in front of my whole family. And my mother, she never held that against me, but she always told me that I needed help for my temper, but she always loved me the same, no matter what. She has been diagnosed with Crohn's disease ever since she was 20. So my mother has been a fighter most of her life. And she continues to do so today. Medicine is a lot better than what it was back then. But she still has struggles with it. And if you meet my mother, you would not be able to tell. She is like this unearthly, strong, independent woman. And it's amazing to me as much love as she has for people. I cannot remember a time when someone needed a place to stay and she told them no. She's invited people into her house. She has been there for everyone who has gotten sick. Before my grandmother died, my grandmother lived with my mother throughout most of her times of cancer. She also lived with an aunt of mine, but mostly with my mother, and I've watched my mother take care of her dying mother in her house. Every day my mother would get up and check on her. so strong. She, as a person, that is how I want to be. She's modeled that. She is so much of the reasons why I am the person that I am today. I've watched sadness in my mother's eyes a lot. And some of them were from choices that I made. But the strength that it takes to be able to take care of your dying mother as she did. She could move mountains. She is like this extraordinary person. So if there's been like a change in my tone of voice, is because of my grandmother. and what I've seen my mother go through. You know, the day that my grandmother died, and Mom, I'm sorry if and when you hear this, that you'll hear this part. But she woke us all up and told us that we needed to call a family. We didn't know what was going on, but we knew something wasn't right. So all day long until the family started to get there, I watched. I watched my mother be this incredible, strong person to go in there and continue to check on her time after time after time until my uncle got there, until my cousin got there. This isn't something that I would wish on anyone. Mom, I don't know if I have what you have just yet. And I pray that if I was in your shoes, that I would do the exact same thing that you did. God forbid that I would need to. But I saw so much in you that day, and that day alone. And I'm so thankful that God made you my mother. I am so thankful that He created you to be the person that you are. This world is definitely a better place with you in it. I appreciate you so much, so much. So, after my grandmother passed, I moved to Minnesota. I didn't want to be in Minnesota, so I kept bouncing back and forth. And my mom would tell me, you need to sit your ass down and come up with a plan. Because coming back and forth is not what's going to keep happening. And she was right. I needed to sit down. I needed to come up with a plan. I needed to get my shit together, so to speak. Man. Sorry for cursing, Mom. I get in trouble for cursing. Oh man. But my wife and I, we came to Minnesota with basically the clothes on our back. And that was it. That was it. You know, my mother was always a positive voice. We ended up in a shelter for a little while. My mother was still a positive voice. When I had gotten married to my wife, I received the biggest compliment that a mother can give to a child. She told me that I have finally become the man that she raised me to be. And it wasn't because I got married, but it's because of the person who I had started to turn out to be. I started to be the kid that she wanted, that she started to mold me to be from a kid until now. And that was one of the best moments of my life, her saying that. This lady is awesome. Like, she is everything. I wish life hasn't been so rough for her as it has. Not recently. I think she's in a good place now. But I wish life was a little bit kinder to her throughout the years. Or maybe it was meant for her life to be the way that it was, for her to be the person that she is. I know my life was meant to be the way that it was, to make me the person that I am. But this woman is, wow. So, Mom, happy belated birthday. I love you so much. I thank you for putting up with me, my attitude, my temper, me being a knucklehead. I thank you for everything that you have done for me. I thank you for everything that you are doing for me. You will never let me be less than what you know I can be. And I thank you for always pushing me to that limit. I hope everybody out there has a mother as awesome as mine. She is so strong to have her chromes and still have been able to take care of a great uncle, her mother, her dad, who also died of cancer, my aunt when she needed it. Wow. And none of this stuff is made up. None of it. This is the whole truth. Everything is true. So, I know I'm a couple days late with this, but I have told you happy birthday already. I love you, Mama. I really do. I love you so much. And I thank you for everything. And I hope everyone that's listening finds some added value and appreciation for their mothers, like I have in mine. So until next time, I thank you all for listening. I really do appreciate every listen that I get. I would appreciate if you guys start to leave some feedback or give me comments on what you think that I'm doing right, or how you feel that I'm doing, so that I can get better with this. This is a good tool for me to speak and get things out that I don't normally get out. But I thank everybody that listened. I thank you so much. Happy belated birthday, Mom. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.